This is Top Landing Gear. Well, that is the sound of the Red Arrows. We're at RAF Scampton, and the first 4-ship of the new season for 2021 have just taken off on a practice session with the new Red One, new leader, Flight Lieutenant, or Squadron Leader, I think he now is, Tom Bold. And we're here to do the Heritage Tour here at RAF Scampton, which by the end of next year will no longer be the home of the Red Arrows, but so it's a great time to be here. Colin is with us from RAF Scampton to give us a guided tour around the Heritage Centre. Colin, exciting times these, as with a new team just gearing up for next season.
They've just started this week, so Red One had a couple of solo flights last week, and now he's taking up 3 with him. And these guys, over a period of time, we added more aircraft. They will get faster, lower, nearer. And even though the Typhoon pilots, they've never flew at 600 knots upside down at 50 feet before, so it's a bit of getting used to.
Yeah, in formation.
Certainly is.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's the future for the base, Colin? We're saying just now that it's
sure we will know exactly what they tell us, same as you, really. So there's no secrets, but we want to make this into some sort of museum going forward.
Mm-hmm.
We're already applying to be a charity, and obviously in the future we will have to charge people to come in.
Yeah.
And it'd be nice if we kept this hangar, because it's the Dam Busters hangar, and have a look at Red Arrow's viewing area.
Yes.
That's sort of the dream.
You say Red Arrow's viewing area because they're moving down to Waddington.
Yeah, and they're still going to fly here. This is Red Arrow's airspace. 6 miles in every direction, 6,000 feet, nobody else is allowed in. And that's quite unique. Belongs to the CAA. They can't give us any other airspace in the country, so it stays here. And there's 10 years of Red Arrows left, so who knows after that? Because they want a new aircraft then.
Yes, absolutely. And you mentioned the Dam Busters. Of course, this is where 617 Squadron were based at the time of the Dam Busters raid.
1943. So by 1943, we're getting these Lancasters in, which are quite heavy for a grass airfield. So the decision is most of the county, then all the bomber airfields are going to go to concrete runways, so they've got to close the place down. But while they're closing it down and kicking out the existing squadrons, Hangar 2 here is empty for a couple of months. Dam Busters is a temporary squadron at the time, and there we go, that's why we got them.
Ah, is that right? And it's wonderful to see these old hangars. You've got, well, at least 4 of them.
Yeah. Well, one is derelict.
Yeah.
That's a warehouse. They're all Type C World War II hangars built in 35, 36.
Yeah.
That one you'll see in a minute, that's the museum, Heritage Centre, and then Hangar 4 is the Red Arrows.
Do they have a preservation on them? Preservation order on them?
They're called Grade 2 listed, but I think that just means you... Well, I don't know, really. That you don't have to upgrade them or anything.
No.
If you do, go use original stuff. These hangars will hold... The Type C hangars are 300 feet long, so they will hold 6 Lancasters, or 3 Vulcans, nose to nose, 2 B-29s, which we had here in 48, or 14/15 Hawks.
Did you have Vulcans here? There were Vulcans
yes,
based
it's
here?
a nuclear base. Yeah, from 57. 617 started here in 58, sorry.
Yeah.
And they finished in 82.
God. So the Pans would have been out there where the Vulcans would be standing on quick reaction alert?
There's a group of them out there, but right down at the end of the runway is 4, and that's where the QRA sat, so 4 Vulcans with nuclear bombs on.
Mm-hmm.
And they dispatched, they've got to take off within 4 minutes.
Wow.
Which they did. Regular.
Wow. To see that being practiced must have been quite something.
Well, and we had 3 squadrons here at any one time, so you're talking over 30 aircraft.
Yeah.
That's a lot of Vulcans.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Imagine the noise of that.
Yeah.
Incredible.
So there is, obviously, with it being a wartime airfield, there's a huge amount of history here, and it would be really sad to lose that.
1916
Is it?
Started, so basically we're on a cliff, and it's limestone, which is good drainage. And on this, it's a hill, but it's called a cliff. and the idea is that the wind whips up off the cliff and picks the aircraft up in World War One.
Oh, right.
Waddington's the same, Ingham, Hemswell, Curtin Lindsay, they're all on the same cliff.
Are they?
In 1916, you had Zeppelins coming across the UK from the east coast. They're between 360 to 600 feet long. They're scary. They're bombing us.
Yeah.
First time we've ever been attacked by air. Don't have radars, so they gridded it out the east coast and put searchlight units, which is what this was.
Oh,
but then we had
right.
aircraft that tried to shoot them down, which is impossible because they fly 10,000 feet higher. And then mainly what was here was a training base, really.
Oh, how interesting.
And then it closed down in 1920, and 35, 36, World War II is imminent, so the RAF had to expand pretty smartish, and this is why we're here. And most of Lincoln is Bomber Command.
Yes.
So most things I'm telling you represent the other 45 airfields as well.
Yeah.
We all had Hamdens, we all had Manchesters, we all had Lancasters.
Yeah.
Then Lincolns. And then there's 2 or 3 that had Vulcans.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic.
So, yeah.
Must be an exciting place to be.
Yeah. So there's a lot of history, 104 years of history. So we don't want to lose that.
No. How do you think this 4-ship are looking, Colin? Do you think they're tight enough?
Very good, yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, he's only
Any
been here a
criticism?
week or so.
Yeah.
And they did the loops the other day. When they're only 5-6 feet apart, that takes them down.
Yeah. I thought Red 3
There's no
perhaps...
computers in there.
Yeah?
It's pure analogue flying.
Indeed. I thought Red 3 might have looked a little loose on a couple of manoeuvres. What do
I
you
think you
reckon?
better go and tell them.
Well, I will.
Well, the saying goes, if you go to the briefing room in there, they go through what they want to go through.
Yeah.
Then the guy films it over there, and when they go back to the briefing room...
Over there
they
being
have
where the
to-
control tower is.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
have to point out their mistakes, and their mistake can compare with ours. So their mistake's an inch out.
Yes.
And if they don't own up, they get fined a cup of tea or something. That's the
Cup
story.
of tea.
Don't quote me on that, but that's the story.
I think it might be more than a cup of tea.
Yeah, off you pop,
Well,
Rob.
they
Go
are
and tell
very, very professional. Yeah, it's not bad for 3 days' work.
No. So how...
These are the best pilots in the world.
Oh, yeah. Best aerobatic pilots in the world.
Yeah.
Typhoon's got the best fighter pilots in the world.
Yeah.
Hercules has got the best transport pilots in the world. You have to be careful what you say.
What are the best helicopter pilots? Where would you say they're from?
Helicopter base.
That's a good
I make
answer.
one round here, so I am technical, but I don't know everything about it. Sorry.
Yeah. Did you know James was an RAF helicopter pilot?
Did they?
Yes, he
Well, he's
flew...
probably the best helicopter pilot.
No, I think it's unlikely.
Absolutely right.
He flew
Got our
Wessex's...
ambulance here, that's about
Wessex and then Puma, he did.
What's that?
Oh, look
Oh,
at
look at
this.
that.
Now that's looking tighter, now I've mentioned it. Yeah.
Don't get bored of that.
No.
I live here and I work here. I don't get bored of that. I
No.
appreciate what that is.
Yeah. Does anybody in the area get upset with it? Or
I don't
are they loved by everybody?
what I'm saying, isn't it? Lincoln take them a bit for granted, I'd say.
Yeah.
I'm not from Lincoln, so I appreciate that. And these people that come here, not only do they want to, they're driven for 3 hours to come and talk about dam busters, but
Yeah.
they come to see that.
Yeah.
Because they'll tell me that, oh, I've seen them last year at Farnborough. Yeah, but we see them every day. Yeah. And
So-
when you watch them from that end or that end of the airfield, it's a different perspective, and it's just as good.
Yeah. What's the kind of build-up period now from going from this 4-ship and building the size up to the 9?
I can only guess what they normally do because
Yeah.
the COVID's changed it, and we've got the same pilots as last year, apart from Red 1.
Right.
But in general, they will start October half term with the 4-ship, and then they had 2, 3, 4 weeks, I'd say, another aircraft. By Christmas, sometimes the synchro pair are together, and then the 4 will go up and the 5 will go up and the synchro pair. But the 9-ship, you're talking end of February, beginning of
Right, not so then.
March.
Yeah.
Beginning of April, then they will go to, the last few years have been Greece, and they will put the air show together. They have better weather there. You can see how bad ours is.
Yes.
And at the end of that, they have a PDA, which is some sort of test where they're licensed to go over crowds. And it's only then, if they pass that, they get their red suits.
Don't think they've
Then
ever failed it, have
they
they?
come back here end of May as red arrows. Then you're away. So in the winter, when they're training, you're talking Monday to Friday, 3 3 or 4 times a day, and in the summer they're doing air shows at weekend. So it might be Thursday to Monday-ish. And it's only in general I'm talking about. That's sort of how it works. But even last week, I saw on the last 9 ship of 2020, when Martin Pert retired, there was already next year's possible pilots in the back seat.
Oh, really?
So it's a process throughout the year of choosing the new pilots for next year. So there's 9 ships, so it's 3 in, 3 out every year in general.
Yes.
And Red One is year 4, 5 and 6.
But because of COVID, they haven't got rid of 3 this year.
Didn't need to. They've trained all year for, 5 air shows probably. But Red One was due to retire, so he's left,
Hasn't retired from the force, just from the Reds?
So, no. I think somebody says he's going Conisby, I'm not sure what he's doing.
Are they taking us up later?
I'm in that queue before you.
Well, we're just about to walk inside the RAF Scampton Heritage Centre. Colin, what is here in the Heritage Centre? Or actually, first of all, just tell us about this big black barrel of a thing standing outside.
This is the Dambusters bouncing bomb, if you like. I've got 3 617 bombs here. The Tall Boy and the Grand Slam. They didn't actually fly from here. But this is the bouncing bomb, or whatever you want to call it. And weighs 9,250 pounds, nearly 5 tons. And before the war, the government was looking at ways of shortening the war, if we're going into that. And if you look at the Royal Valley is full of electric plants and armament plants and all kinds of... Can we say that again?
Yeah, hydroelectric, isn't it? Yeah, of course. Okay. Yeah, so this is the upkeep bomb, which is used in the Dambusters raid.
That's right. So if you're going to smash the Royal Valley, one way to do that is smash the dams. Now, the gravity dams, the Mona and the Ida, are 100 feet thick of concrete, and they bomb about 140 feet. So Barnes Wallis takes up the mantle. He's going to smash them. So he's thinking, first of all, the dams are protected by torpedo nets, so you can't hit it through the water. And a lot of it lays on the top, so you can't skim stuff across it. To hit the dam, in 1942, accuracy in bombing is measured in miles. So they've got to hit it crack on somehow. Yeah. And the only way to smash 100 feet thick of concrete is probably a 10-ton bomb landing near it. So how do we get it that near? So this thing, you release that from a Lancaster at 60 feet, straight on, you're going to get the accuracy. When you release it, it bounces on the water somehow, but it does. And there's a 500 RPM backspin, that controls the bounce. And what it does is then, when it bounces over the top of the torpedo nets, and when it hits the dam, it doesn't explode, it sinks. But because you've got a reverse spin on it, it sort of comes away from the dam and then curls back in. So then it hit the wall again, and at 30 feet it will explode underwater. And if you found out if you explode a bomb underwater or under the ground, it amplifies the explosion. So now we don't need a 10-ton bomb. We don't need an aircraft that can carry that. We can get over top of the torpedo nets and we can get it accurate. And they all thought he was a crazy man because he wanted to bounce a 5-ton bomb, but actually he was a genius.
Yes.
And this man, he invented the Wellington bomber and those 2 big bombs over there, Tall Boy and the Grand Slam. He probably gave Hitler more headaches than his wife. So.
Why did the Dambusters raid not... It was never repeated? Because they never really used the bouncing bomb again.
It was a lot of practice and a lot of training and a lot of equipment that was all last minute. And on the night of the raid, they lost 53 people out of 133. That's 40%. Yeah. That's nearly half your aircraft, bombs, training skills lost in 3 hours. Yeah.
So it's just unsustainable.
And that was a surprise raid. Yeah. Imagine we're going back together. So then they obviously started putting guards and aircraft nearby and netting and all that rubbish up. So they're waiting for us again. Yeah. But it also scared us because they could do it back a little bit. And also, you think about the engineering. If you overfill your washing machine, it vibrates around the kitchen. Well, this is a 5-ton vibration piece of kit. It will smash the aircraft in half. Yeah. So the spin test and the engineer is superb, and it did vibrate the aircraft. Yeah. So they only put it on with 10 minutes to go.
Because they had a smaller bouncing bomb for the Mosquito, which is high
for Mosquito. They were going to hit ships for that, but it didn't work out in the end.
No.
And that was for the there was an argument who was going to use it first, Navy or the Royal Air Force.
That's right, yeah.
But the Royal Air Force were running out of time because they had to do it at an optimum level of water at the right time of year in the moonlight.
Well, we just walked inside the hangar now, and we are seeing pieces of 617 Squadron Memorabilia in situ. And Colin, just tell us what, I think I can guess what this room is now. There's a desk, there's a black dog underneath it. Mm-hmm. Could this be something to do with Guy Gibson?
Yeah, this is Gibson's office, and we've redone it out as it was before. The dog's down there, yeah. But there's only one picture on Google of the office, so we can copy that. This was derelict about 8 years ago, so we've done this ourselves. So there's only one colour picture on Google, so you can get the colours. We had a college in, and they put chemicals on the woodwork and found the original colours, so we got that right. The set out is off the picture, but also Hangar 3 is as it was in World War II, so you can copy that. Yeah. So we've put the false door back in.
Oh, brilliant.
And then the flooring was done by the company that originally did it, and they said they don't do it anymore, but however, we will for you. They did, and did it for free.
This is a proper bit of history.
Yeah.
This is where 617 started. And 617 was a temporary squadron, and it's still going today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's come to life more times than your broadcasting career.
Well, leave that in.
Yeah. It's just incredible to be in here and see this tangible bit of history here, real history.
And those names that are so well known.
You'll hear all of them in the film.
Yeah.
Was any of the filming done here?
Yeah.
So
the film, can't remember it all, but a lot of the grass scenes in the afternoon waiting to take off, they're done outside Hangar 3, which is the wrong hangar. And because the control tower is in between 2 and 3 in World War II, it's actually technically on the wrong side. All the fight and the bar scenes are done at the mess on the side of the airfield, but you can only see that properly from where the houses are.
Yeah,
that's derelict at the minute, unfortunately. The last 10 minutes of the film, they're on the way out on the one-way system. On your left, it's a 2-storey building with 4 pillars outside, and that's where Gibson and Barnes Wallace are chatting for the last 10 minutes. And then the road you're going to drive out on, that's where Gibson walks off and the credits come up.
Wow.
They had 4 aircraft from the RAF that were in storage, and they converted them to dambuster Lancasters. If you went down Hemswell, that's where all the taxiing scenes were done. They had a load of Lincolns in storage, so you could put them in the background, made it look like loads of Lancasters. And apparently the takeoff scenes were done at Curtin Lindsey, which was still a grass airfield, but because it was a fighter airfield, the runway was shorter. So they basically reversed the Lancasters in the hedge full power. When they took off, they missed HQ by 2 feet. So there's only one take of that.
Gosh. Well, where we were gliding yesterday, didn't they say they did filming?
Yeah, that's it.
That was Curtin and Lindsey. Sorry, of course it was, yeah.
Putting their Hurricanes there and stuff.
Wow.
Gibson himself, if you read about born in 1918 in British India, and they were on about coming back to England, the parents, to educate the kids, but they actually split up, and the mother brought him and his brother and sister to Port Lewis in Cornwall. He joined the RAF in 36. His first operational squadron was 83 Squadron, which came here. So he joined 83 at Turnhouse in Edinburgh. They joined 5 Bomber Group here, so they came down here. So he was here before the war. He actually flew on the first day of the war on a seek and destroy mission for enemy shipping, couldn't find it, the bad weather. Stayed here for so long, then he went to 29 Squadron down at Digby, which is the other side of Lincoln. That was a fighter airfield. He was flying. They were just getting rid of their Blennings and getting these blue fighters in. So they wanted bomber pilots, a big aircraft. So he was defending the northeast of England. Why the Spitfires and Hurricanes are mainly down south.
In both fighter, that was.
Yeah, blue fighter. Yeah. Then 29 Squadron went down to Maidenhead. It was down there for a year, depending on the Battle of Britain had finished. Mm-hmm. He knew he was going to have to move at some point, and he rejoined Bomber Command and joined 106 Squadron at Syston. By then he's flying Lancasters. And by then, if you did a tour of 30 missions, I think only 1 in 3 crews survived the tour. He did. They asked him to do one more mission. They brought him here in 43, and he helped them set up 617 Squadron. He was 24 years old, wing commander, and done 174 missions.
It's very similar to my career.
174.
Wow, 174 missions.
Yeah. And when you say sit up 617 from this room, don't forget this place was empty because they were emptying the base off. So there wasn't a pillar, a chair, a table, a typewriter, a bed, nothing. You need a 500-man crew for a ground crew and everything. So he set all that up and taught.
And did he hand-pick those crews, or were they just...
Well, in the film it showed you that. I'm not quite so sure. It wasn't as easy as the film made out.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people he did want, and there's some he couldn't. I think 5 bomber group was supposed to release 1 crew from each base. I don't think they all did that.
And rumour has it he was quite a hard taskmaster.
Yeah.
Maybe a difficult person.
Not a very popular man.
Right.
But he's a man who can and did.
Yeah.
No doubt about that.
Yeah. And he was the right
That's why
person.
he was selected, wasn't it?
The right person in the right place.
24 years old and he starts a squadron up.
Yeah. I don't think I could start my car up at 24.
174 missions.
Yeah.
24 years old. Yeah, we're lucky to have this.
Yeah. This is amazing.
They can't,
Don't want to lose
they
it.
can't lose it.
No.
No, they can't lose it. I'm really glad I've just started reading
His book.
James James Holland's. Holland's a good one.
Yeah.
There's
Just
quite a lot of Dan Buster's books.
Yeah, there are a lot. I read Guy Gibson's Enemy Coast Ahead a couple of months ago, which is obviously was written, during the war, and obviously before he was killed. And it's not all about the dam busters. It's about his whole RAF career. I mean, it's a take, and he was asked to write it, I think, wasn't he, by the RAF?
Yeah.
I don't think it was he wanted.
They grounded him. He would have been a nice trophy for the Germans. They got hold of him.
Yeah.
So they grounded him for a year. And then that last mission was his last one.
Yeah.
One mission too many.
What was he flying on his last mission?
Mosquito.
Mosquito, that was right.
Yeah. So he had a 2-man crew. When it crashed, they could only find body parts, and they thought the guy had bailed out one of them. But when they found a third hand, that they knew they got both guys, gave them to the people in Holland in a box, the bits, and then a few days later they found a sock with his name on. That's how they knew they got him.
Christ.
And a bit of the Mosquito is in the museum here.
Is there really?
Yeah.
Maudsley, Hopgood, Martin, Munro, McCarthy, Burpee, Knight, Townsend, Anthony. Incredible. See those names there.
Yeah.
Bingy, Young, Aspinall, Maltby. We all know those names so well, don't we? From the books and the films. But seeing him here in this office is something quite special.
The film was based on a book by Paul Brickell. He wrote the first one. And they also use Enemy Coast Ahead. Yeah. But when he wrote the book, if you read it, it's very, because it was near the raid, it's very accurate in places. But because the raid was still secret, a lot of it, he's missed a lot of bits out.
That's right.
And that's why the film isn't 100% right.
And in Guy Gibson's book, he doesn't reference Barnes Wallis by name.
No.
He just says a tall, grey-haired gentleman. And of course, we've got the benefit of hindsight now, haven't we?
These guys didn't know what the target was to the day of the raid. That's how secret it was.
Yeah.
Did they think it was shipping?
Yeah, they thought it was a Tirpitz.
Yeah.
And we sank the Tirpitz with them anyway.
Was it Grand Slam or Tall Boy? Grand Slam.
Tall Boys.
Tall Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, the last one that tipped it over, the biggest ship that Germans ever made, and we tipped it over with a Tall Boy. We'd already put a hole for it, but we didn't know that. So they towed it down the ford for safekeeping, and they moved it nearer Scotland, so we could attack it from Scotland. And one of the bombs landed at the side and it tipped it over.
Come on.
That's a big bomb.
That is a big bomb. Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing though that the Barnes Wallis is ingenious.
Yeah.
The bouncing bomb, such a technical thing,
Yeah.
and then that one just make it big.
But they wanted it fast, and it wasn't that easy.
Yeah.
It's getting the right explosives in there, and also you haven't just got to design a bomb in 5 months' time, which is what they wanted, because he offered them up years ago. They didn't want it. You have to modify the Lancaster. So you're chatting to Roy Chadwick in AV Road and say, you modify a Lancaster. I need bigger engines. I need more powerful engines. Then I need some kit to actually put the bomb onto it. So all that, it wasn't just a bomb, it was everything that went with it.
Vickers and Avi Rose worked pretty closely together,
that's right.
didn't they? In the run up to after 617 was formed. They worked, I think, at Weybridge.
That's right.
Every row guys were seconded to Weybridge.
Wallace was a designer for Vickers, wasn't he? Originally?
Yeah.
He was an aircraft designer.
They even did a lot of this dam buster stuff in his spare time.
Yeah.
They were working around the clock.
Fantastic.
Brilliant.
What's next?
Right, it's dam bustering room.
Sorry.
So I would go through the raid itself, which will take a long while.
Okay.
But it does show you on this board we have 19 aircraft in order. Gibson first, 7-man crew on a Lancaster. That's 133. And these poppies on there, they are the guys that didn't come back. There's 53 of them.
Yeah.
So like an aircraft here, Hopgood crashed. This guy jumps out, that one, and this one here. They're all POWs. So it's 3 POWs, 133 men, 19 aircraft, 53 deaths, all in the space of a few hours.
What was the reason for such a high fatality?
Flying low would be a part of it. So they flew with moonlight, so you can see them, but they could see anyway. And also flying low, they probably flew at 100 feet all the way out there.
Yeah.
And a couple of them hit pylons.
Right.
That's how low they were flying.
Yeah.
And there is 10,000 guns in Germany shooting at them basically as well.
I suppose we don't know whether they were shot down or crashed.
A bit of both, yeah. If you went through that, you could go through all that, yeah. The only guy surviving now is Johnny Johnson.
Yeah.
He don't have to buy a beer in Lincoln, I'll tell you. He's got his own seat at the dam busters in. You probably sat in his seat. You get out if he comes. He's been here a few times. 98 now, I think he is.
Yeah, he comes into the Petwood as well, I think, a few times.
Yeah. I think he lives in Bristol, but he's looked after up here.
Yeah. Because one of the things they were very worried about was if they mistimed the bomb run, that they would actually get blown up by their own weapon.
That's right.
I don't know if that ever actually happened, but...
No.
Went over the top, didn't they?
I think Mosley's aircraft, it landed on top of the dam and the fragments probably smashed his aircraft. Nobody saw him again. I'll show you here how it works. Let's watch this cable. I use this. So 2 things in the film. First of all, Lancaster itself, to put a 5-ton bomber, you've got to take weight off it. So they took the mid turret off, and it's more aerodynamic then. So mid gunner goes to front gunner goes to bomb aimer. To get this working, so 10 minutes to go, they're going to start spinning the bomb. So one of the guys will start spinning that. They'll also put these lights on. These lights, you see it in the film as Gibson inventing that idea. He didn't. They were using this a year before on Coastal Command, trying to look for submarines. They don't work in the sea because it's too choppy. But these 2 lights at 30 and 40 degrees, they create a figure of 8 at 60 feet. The crossover, you're not at 60 feet. That's how it works. So somebody's going to switch that on. Then once the bomb's spinning, the aircraft starts shaking. Plus you're flying low level, so you've got vibration anyway. So when you're vibrating, the pilot's trying to get it straight and level, and then the flight engineer's got the throttles to get the speed right. So you've got to get the speed right, height right, straight and level. If you are 1 mil out to the left or right, the bomb will land on its side and curve off. So it's not that accurate. So that's not Gibson invented in the film. And the other thing in the film is called the down sight, which is this wooden piece of kit with some nails on it. £43,000 to buy one of them, by the way.
What?
Yeah, 43 grand. Anyway, so that's all it is. A couple of nails and a bit of wood, down sight. So the bomb aimers sit in the front of the aircraft for that, like that, and the 2 pins there, they've got to match up to the 2 sluice towers. They're about 700 feet apart. So the triangulation is 700 feet and 450 yards. So when it all lines up, you release the bomb. That's how it works. And it's shaking as well.
The margin for error must have been massive.
Yeah. And just the angles again as well. When they get there, they're struggling to get in.
Yeah.
The one thing that I never understood was how do they... the actual navigation of the aircraft, because you've got to fly. I assume they're just aiming between the 2
Yeah.
It's directly between the two.
Yeah, well, you're relying on the guy there for this.
But he's going at the right time.
Yeah.
But if you're off centre, the whole thing's gone to.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could obviously see a little bit of the moon, right? But the other part is what it don't show in the film is this idea here. It's a piece of string. So in the film, you'll see this down sight, and that's true. And Gibson used it. It's not 100% accurate, but they said if you've got a better idea, do something else, and they did. And this bit of string is not in the film.
So we're looking at the Plexiglas Bombers.
Yes.
Plexiglas dome here.
Yeah. So they put for the sides they put 2 Chinagraph marks. They're the sluice towers. Then the guy he's at the front of the aircraft, laying on his stomach with a bit of string. He can now gauge the level of the flight with a bit of string. That's your top of your dam. And he puts his nose there and releases the bomb. Because some of these guys, where you went to 2 dams, the sluice towers are different sizes. So on here, there's 2 knots, one's for one dam and one's for the other. So the most accurate bombing raid in World War II is a bit of string and 2 torches.
It's incredible.
You can imagine the tornado doing that.
We need to take a picture of that.
Yeah.
So
That's not in the film. 11 aircraft use that though. But it's not in the film. But that's how they did it.
Should be in the film. I think that's just extraordinary.
How long have you done this for?
7 or 8 years, something like that.
Where have you researched all this, Colin?
Lots of books. Well, first of all, when you start here, you want to be a guide. You come here, you can get on their mailing list to tell you what tours are on. Come in with the guys, follow them around with your notebook. And obviously, after a certain point, you think, well, I've got to read a Dan Buster's book, I've got to read Guy Gibson's book. So it all takes a long while to accumulate, but you can get around with a few notes and just keep building from there. So, yeah, it takes a long while. And I don't stop. So,
Do you love it?
Hey.
Do you love it?
Yeah, I do.
What do you love? Is it
I like
the history or the jets or the?
I've always been into aviation.
Yeah.
And now I've got a pass to get on an RAF base. I've also got a pass to come on the RAF base at any time I like and watch the red arrows from the front.
Yeah.
I also actually go down the reds sometimes.
Yeah.
And I come here and I talk about aircraft for 4 hours instead of being at home hoovering and cooking and all that. And I meet people. And people have driven 3.5 hours to come and see me and know that.
Yeah.
And I give them that.
That's brilliant, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's nothing better than that, is there?
No. That's my day off work.
Yeah, super. Yeah.
Who's the gentleman behind you?
That is Martin, is the Australian pilot, third one in. He's a low level expert. He showed the others how to fly at low level.
Did he survive the war?
Yeah, I think he did actually, yeah. Not many did survive in the end,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
The photograph here, obviously with hundreds of people. Is this air crew, ground crew, the whole squadron?
It's probably 617 Squadron, and obviously we don't know the date of it, but we guess that it's not after the raid because the dog ain't there and all the crew are. So it's probably the day before, really. Because they're only here 2 months, really.
And the dog featured in every photo?
Yeah, it's the mascot of the
squadron.
So when it got run over the day before, they'd actually kept that secret as well.
Yeah.
On the night before. Because it's a mascot, it doesn't look good if your mascot's dead. And in the film, again, go back to the film, it wasn't a hit and run like it shows there.
Yeah.
The dog did run out there and get run over, and I think it was a couple from Cherry Willingham down the road. They took it in the guardhouse. The guardhouse brought it down on a bed, which is downstairs somewhere hidden. And he did ask one of the pilots to make a coffin, and he said no. So they actually buried it in a parachute at midnight outside his office when he's over the dams, which they did. They didn't show it on the film. I said we spent ages in there, and I ain't even told you what went on there. I'd been a half hour there. But yeah. Right, yeah. So I won't go in there, but you can look in there. That's the Mosquito Gibson crashed in, or parts of it, and a replica.
The one that killed him? Or?
Yeah, that's it, yeah. Yeah.
It was engine failure.
There's no exact reason why, you can only but guess. He crashed the aircraft, caught on fire, got killed, but even though people have said, well, some guy, the Germans said they shot him down, nobody can prove that. The aircraft crashed. There's a lot of rumours of different reasons why it crashed, but nobody can be certain about that, no matter what you read. So he's buried in Steenberg in Holland, and there's a family there that look after the graves.
Oh, right. So it's only just that small fragment, is it? That's the
and a bit there.
from the original.
Yeah. There's wood, isn't it? So it didn't last long in the fire.
Yeah.
So that's your dam busters bit over.
Is it?
Yeah. This room down there, I'll just show you this. You can put it or not, but it is quite important. South, this room was World War II, was the clerk's room. This is where we typing's done. We think it was separated by a pretend wall there. That was the map room, under lock and key in the dam busters' time, because it's a top secret raid. Them guys did not know what they were going to hit till the day of the raid, so the maps were hidden. So that was under lock and key. 2 keys, one's in Gibson's pocket, one's on guard. That's how it stayed. That's the history of this room. But the main thing here is the VCs. Now this is unprecedented here. So VC, Victoria Cross, is the highest medal you can win for valour in the military. And most people die getting it, above and beyond the Call of Duty. In Bomber Command, there's 23 VCs in World War II. And 8 of them were Lincoln. And out those 8 in Lincoln were 45 airfields. We've got 3. And nobody else has got that. Wow. In HQ, there'll be the original paintings and a bust of these. We've also got a guy here who won, the only person we know is won 2 medals on the same raid, and one of them is the George Medal. And we've also got George Cross winner as well here. So this is very, very important, isn't it? And the stories are fantastic. If you read about a VC, they're not worth anything when they're made. I think if you watch a documentary by Clarkson, he tells you about a lump of metal that's left. It's metal from a cannon in the Crimean War.
Oh, yes.
And they make them in batches and they're worth nothing. But once they've got a name and story on, they're worth £250,000. Which is why we haven't got one sitting over there. No. If you do see one of them, they're probably a fake one. Yeah. Because they're just not. You just can't leave them lying around.
No.
Yeah, 1940, Leroyd, first guy in Bomber Command. He brought his shot up aircraft back to the UK somehow after a bombing raid. Didn't think he'd get back. When he got back, it was still dark, and he knew the hydraulics had gone, so he ain't going to get the wheels down. He's probably got to belly it in. The flaps are stuck down, he can't fly it properly. And when he got it here to get it in, he flew the aircraft until it was daylight, then winched the wheels down by hand, and they stayed down. Saved the crew's life. And a month later, this guy, on the way to in his Hampden bomber, it's a 4-man crew.
Who's this?
This is John Hanna. 4-man crew in the Hampden, and the aircraft's being shot at, and all the flak goes inside the aircraft, and all the ammunition catches fire. So there's an inferno on it. This is 83 Squadron, same squadron as Guy Gibson, who's on the same raid, and he saw it and he said, yeah, it should have gone down. So the two guys jumped out, and John Hanna realises the pilot's still flying the aircraft. He's the last man out, the pilot, because he's got to hold it while the others get out. So he tries to put the fire out. And that's only 33 inches wide, there's an inferno in there. He used 2 little extinguishers, his gloves, his hat, his coat, bare hands, and got the fire out. The floor's melting under the heat, it's full of smoke, he can't breathe. But he crawled through the aircraft, found the maps, and navigated the pilot back home, saved his life. And he's only 18 years old.
What?
And Guy Gibson, we've already talked about, obviously. He's won every medal there is, over and over again. His VC was on his way, but he got it on the Dams raid because he flew side by side the other aircraft.
To track the
flow. Yeah, human target.
What had he done before? But you said that there was a VC on the way to him before.
Well, he's won every medal you can,
right?
Over and over again. Right. So there's a point where, you know what, he's done his job and he's going to get the ice on for that. Flinton and in the Hampden Bomber 41, that's 83 Squadron as well. He was flying to Osnabrück for a bombing raid. 2 Messerschmitts 110s attack him. Somehow he got away from them, but the aircraft smashed up. So instead of turning back, he carried on, did the bombing raid. He got a Distinguished Flying Medal for that. On the way back, they're going to finish him off. filled in full of bullet holes, and he thinks what he's struggling to get back. They scarpered on the way to England, and he had 800 yards left, and he had to belly the aircraft into the sea because there's no power in the aircraft to get over the cliffs of Cromer. So it's now in the water sinking, it's full of bullet holes, and so is the raft, and they're all swimming for it. However, he realised the navigators instantly, he's swum back to the aircraft, pulled the dead weight of the body out, and swum him 800 yards back to shore. He got the George Medal for that. And he died 5 years ago. He's from Nottingham. So this is an important room, even though there's hardly anything in it.
And there's a lovely model down here.
I don't know the history of it, but we used to own this years ago before I started, but somebody's borrowed it and just gave it back this year. So it is the Mona. Yeah. It's a very good model, and we are going to put a cover on it. We're having a table and a cover built at Cranwell because it's too big to get in the room with two tables. So we're going to have a purpose-built one built. But it is the Mona, and you can see there's the
torpedo nuts.
Torpedo nuts, yeah.
Well, is it possible to have a loo break?
We've now moved into the hangar here, and it is full, surprisingly, of aircraft. We've got the Fallen Gnat, which was the Red Arrow's first aircraft. We've got a couple of Hawks, but there's a lot more history to this. And back in the day of the Dam Busters, Colin, what was going on in here?
So this is a Dam Busters hangar. You could get 6 Lancasters in here. And on the night of the raid, they all met in here for the last time together at 8:30, an hour before they're taking off. It's here.
Wow.
So, a lot of importance here.
What's this? What hangar number is this?
Hangar number 2 out of 4, Type C World War II hangar, 300 foot long, 75 feet high, 155 feet wide. The doors, the 6 of them, they weigh between 40 and 60 tons each. Depending on how much ballast you want to put in. So World War II, they filled it full of concrete so you can't get shot. And they just move with a little handle. There's no electrics involved. A 10-year-old could open those 40-ton doors.
Really?
Yeah, no, just gearing.
That's clever. So, and what's the reason for the collection that you've got here?
Well, there's remnants here of a World War I exhibition we had through Lincoln Aviation Heritage. So we've got a lot of World War I stuff. We've got a DH2 from Wickenby on loan.
And that is a...
DH2. Pusher aircraft.
Yeah, from World War I.
Yeah. So we've got a World War I exhibition. We've got the tail off a 617 Tornado. 70th anniversary. There's only 2 of them. We've got 1. Red Arrow Hawks, 2. Nat, 1. 2 Vulcan cockpits. One of them we're repainting white, as is anti-flash 1957 colours, and it is a Scampton Vulcan.
Brilliant.
It's been outside for 13 years, so we've craned it in on loan, painting it. Hunter Aviation, which is on the base. They've got some Hunters. We've got one here, and we've got a Phantom that's theirs, and Su-21 Sukhoi.
What's that doing here?
Well, I think they basically hire them out. So if you want to try out your new radar or something, you can hire, instead of taking a Typhoon off the front line, you can put it in their kit. They'll fly it for you, and they've got 3 Hunters that fly.
Oh, nice.
Put them in
still flying.
And all these aircraft flew in. If you bit of polish on them, and away you go again.
Oh, nice. Well, let's polish them up. Yeah. Come on. Let's get going.
Lynx trainer, World War II flight simulator.
This is an extraordinary thing, which I've seen in old black and white newsreel footage. Just describe it to us, Colin, because it's
a miniature aircraft.
It's like a cartoon, a physical cartoon. It's got tiny little wings. It's got a tiny little tail. Yeah, and it's just I don't know how would you describe this, Roy?
I'd probably put a photo of it on our social media.
I think you might have to.
It's great to put a PlayStation in it, couldn't it? Yeah. Or a Flight Simmons.
Is it Flight Sim? So this is World War II.
World War II, Lynx train, named after the guy who invented it in America, and that's what they used to train pilots on.
So there's not a screen, is there? It's not like. So
It'd be good if it was.
How are they training? How does it train you? Is it just movement of rudders?
That's right. Yeah.
James, you seem to be quite familiar with this. Was it your era?
No, this hadn't come in when I left the Air Force. No, I remember my father talking about Link trainers, and Yeah, it's just when you move the stick, etc., it's in the dark, and also you can't see any outside movement. So it teaches you to trust your instruments.
Right.
That's the big thing. It takes away all your outside senses, and so when you move the stick, the instruments move as they should do if you're flying it.
World War II, we had a room full of them just outside this hangar. I found that out. Yeah, since we had this.
And is it mechanical? Does it actually?
Yeah,
it would move
mechanical.
forward.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Oh, right, that makes sense. So
It's got bellows, I think, underneath.
It does work. I don't like touching it. Don't want to break it. It's not mine.
Well, you think about what it looks like. It looks like the aircraft that Gromit flew in Wallace and Gromit.
That's exactly what it looks like.
Yeah.
The fact also it has actual wings, which are just obviously useless. But they had an aesthetic which I think you couldn't. It wouldn't be the same without.
Okay, so we'll walk down here. So Canberra's rear in 53. It's a cockpit there. That's ready for painting as well. If everyone wants to
look inside that,
that's 3 man in there. Somehow.
Wow.
Over there, you've got some nuclear bombs, as you do. Yeah. Don't knock them over. Don't sit on them. You just don't know. Yeah. I mean, that.
So the Echo DH1. The Curling brothers have now got stuck under a Canberra door. Both of their backs have gone at the same time.
They do. I'm not quite sure what they're doing. I'm not sure if they're allowed to be doing this either.
we are stuck now.
Yeah.
I'm in there. You come out after them.
So the blue seal, I'll talk about that later in the Cold War room, but it's a bit of a collection here.
Which one's the nuclear bomb?
The green one,
Yeah.
70s, 80s and 90s, 177 it's called. And then that's the blue steel from the 60s. That's a thermal nuclear device. That's powerful, very.
And the WE-177 was a tactical nuke, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. So, when you hand over the nuclear deterrent to the Navy in 68, the RAF still maintained a small quantity of these.
And they were called the Instant Bucket of Sunshine, I believe.
Yeah.
What is this?
Blue steel.
Blue steel.
It has a rocket engine in, so imagine going to Moscow and it's heavily defended. You could drop this at low level, you could drop it from 50 miles away, and then the rocket motors kick in, and we'll take it the rest of the way at Mach 3. And the warhead's in the front, and then there's a gyro system. There's your 1960s sat-nav down there that'll be in it. So these are all Vulcan bombs.
Yeah, and they sort of hung half out of the bomb bay, didn't they?
Yeah.
Blue steel.
Yeah.
They're too big to get.
Yeah, just underneath, yeah.
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 And then we handed over to the Navy for the
That's
rest
right,
of
with
the
the Polaris
submarine.
and then Trident.
Yeah.
Can I just show this game? I might have to
Yeah,
stop this.
please.
Yeah.
It's a game, but it's very important. We first to something I'll probably talk about later. So you get in your Lancaster, you go into Berlin, you're 18 years old, you take off, what this does, on the reds, if you spin that and it lands on a red, you're dead.
Okay.
Right? So we've got a tour ahead of us of 30 missions, so here's one of them. So on takeoff, the chances
Of death.
is quite minimal, and I've survived.
Well,
Thank you very much.
congratulations.
Going over the coast, I'm alive. Night fighters attacking. 44, they're shooting upwards underneath, they're sneaking up on you. I've survived. Doing well. It will be relevant in a minute.
Yeah.
Over the target, you've got 10,000 guns in Germany. Dead.
Oh,
Right. So I've died on the
your
first mission. This game showed if you try and go around 30 times.
Survive.
What's the next moment of danger? More night fighters.
Oh, I got it from the door. Yeah, it's a game, but
As games go, it's got limited sales potential, I'd suggest, but it's an incredibly important.
Maybe not one for the kids. I'm out.
Well, it is for the kids, that's the thing. Yeah,
no, that is true.
the best I've done is
3.
Right, I'm going to go around. Get
Right.
174.
Right, so Jeremy's now going to have a go,
In your head.
Yeah.
I'm going to go around.
taking off.
I took off and survived. Coastal flak. Didn't really give it much of a spin.
I think he might have been chopped at this point.
Got past the night fighters. I'm over the target.
Ooh.
I've survived over the target. Got to get home. Night fighters.
Yes.
Survived.
Fatal damage. That could have been me landing.
Yeah, we got fuel, fog.
Survived.
Yeah.
You've done a mission.
Lucky.
Yeah. Well, I've gone a second tour, another 28.
Yeah. 56 for 2 tours. That is pretty startling, actually, when you think of it like that.
And those
Very good demonstration.
Yeah.
So, timeline 1916. The only picture on Google is over there. 6 flight sheds and a load of wooden huts. On the same where we are now.
Was it called Scampton then?
It started off as Brattleby and then it changed to Scampton. We're not sure why. We've tried to look into it, but it changed to Brattleby. So this room in World War II was a crew room. So you come in, put your flying jacket on, your parachute, and pick up your flask and sandwiches. This room was a crew room for 617 Vulcan dam busters as well. There's a documentary on YouTube about that, and you can see these paintings in the background. So again, history here. Muriels painted by 617, 1943 Lancaster, 52 Canberra, 58 Vulcan, and then they went to Tornadoes and didn't fly, so they didn't finish the picture. And we could never get rid of these. Now they're at Myram, they're 35s. This is our World War I room, obviously. And there's a lot of uniforms here, most of them are original. They're worth thousands, cost a lot of money. That is a World War I women's RAF uniform. So when the RAF started, so did the women's as well.
Yep.
That's rare, but that's a Scampton cook, Mortlow. Over here we have the first RAF uniform. And we have an American tunic because we taught them to fly in 1918 as well. So if you think back to World War I or prior to that, if you think about the Wright brothers in 1903, 1908 is the first UK flight, that was by an American. But 3 years later, after the first UK flight, the government are already looking at these flying machines as weapons. 1912, the Royal Flying Corps starts, and the Central Flying School as well, which is the oldest flying school in the world, which is what the Red Arrows are. So it was just a balloon unit, and it was Army guys that flew and Navy guys that flew. 1918, Trenchard put the Navy and the Army together. Navy and the Army together and called the Royal Air Force. Is that so? That uniform carries on as green from the Army days. The blue uniform, which we know of today, Tsar of Russia was assassinated in 1918, and it cut short the Russian Revolution. There was a tonnage of blue uniform went to go to Russia. I didn't want it, so the RAF bought it. Yeah. Took till 1925 to move across, but yeah, that's how it's done. So everything here is World War One. Everything here is over 100 years old. So are the guides. It's a World War II room. But obviously we start off, there's a picture of the Hamden bomber. Over there we have the Manchesters here from 40, and they had Vulture engines which seized up. Rolls-Royce couldn't get them right. That's not good when they seize up in the sky because they fall out. So the RAF cancelled the order. Roy Chadwick, he's got aircraft on production, and he stuck 4 Merlins on. So underneath is the Manchester Mark III or the Lancaster. Then we went to Lincoln's after the war. Great aircraft, very powerful, but it won't get an atomic bomb to Moscow. The Vulcan will. There's only 11 years between a Lancaster and a Vulcan.
That's amazing.
Yeah, you think about that.
That is incredible. It always startles me, that fact.
Yeah, that's Roy Chadwick.
Yeah.
Centrepiece is the Lancaster. This it's 9th scale, 1/9 scale, and it's actually a replica of S for Sugar, which is down at Hendon. So when you see that aircraft, it's got the same writing and all that. That's your giveaway. That's a Scampton Lancaster. We're not sure where this came from. We think it's an engineering model. 1/9 scale. You can look inside. You see where all the 7 crew members are. It really was puke green inside. You would have smelt the oil from the engines. You would have smelt the fuel in there. If it got coned up over Germany, they're going to put it in a spin to get out of the way of the lights. They smell the puke and all.
Yeah.
Also, there's a toilet down there, and I'll leave that to your imagination. So it's a metal seat, it's flapped down. It's only aluminium. It won't take a bullet from another aircraft. It'll just go straight through and rip you in half. And you're going to sit in that for 8 hours. And when you go above 8,000 feet, you've got oxygen tanks. Those tanks are not going to let you walk around the aircraft, so you're relying on comms inside, and you can't shout over 4 Merlins. So it's very loud in there, and it vibrates, and it stinks, and it's cramped. The only armoury on it is behind the pilot's seat. You don't want him to die. That's in trouble.
But did the crews love them, or did the crews...
I think it's like, yeah, it's an amazing aircraft.
Yeah.
I just want to put that across how not as easy as it is, not the glamour thing about it at all. Not being shot at over Germany. And very cramped. Perspex goes brown and scratches, so the aircraft used to chase us and shoot from behind, so a lot of the rear gunners used to take the Perspex out. So then at 22,000 feet, it's minus 40. And the only heat is off number 3 engine. They were right in there. So it's not an easy job. Somebody told me a story once, and I don't know if it's true, I can't prove it, but I did Google it and it's half right, but it actually all makes sense and it explains the aircraft. He knew a guy, he worked with a guy in the 60s called Bob Todd. Bob Todd is Benny Hill's sidekick. Okay. Yeah? Now I Googled that and he's a rear gunner. So his story was, he sat in the back here and he put his fags down one boot, he put his flask down another, he sat on his parachute, it's so cramped and cold in there, he could only sit on it, and put his sandwiches on his lap. That's how cramped it is. On takeoff, he fell out the back. Now he tried to chase the aircraft down, but he couldn't, so he hid. He didn't tell anybody, because if you get out of a mission, you're a coward. Lack of moral fibre. They'll court-martial you tomorrow. So he hid. Got back on the aircraft 3 hours later on landing. They said, "Where you been? We ain't heard from you." He said, "I've been here all the time, but the comms went down." Which proves they only talk, they sit there for 8 hours. Go away with it.
Is that true?
Yeah. Well, everything there makes sense. It explains a lot. So, and I did Google, he's a rear gunner. So yeah, it's a great story.
It's surrounded by memorabilia, like helmets and...
Yeah, there's a lot of personal
boots.
stories, and if you had time to read things, it's quite interesting. Pigeon. I've got a pigeon there when in Lancaster.
Did every Lancaster have a pigeon?
Yeah, I used to have a pigeon loft on the edge of the airfield. Yeah. So if you read out a pigeon, you'd put it in the aircraft, and you could, if you're going to go and crash somewhere, you could quickly write what the coordinates and send the pigeon home. That's the idea, and we did that. So also, I've read that they used to put it in a box when they went on, but those boxes could also be dropped off for the French resistance. Yeah. They could send us a message and send it back. So
and in a survival situation, they're also quite tasty, I believe.
Well, there is a story about somebody landing in the middle of the sea on a raft, and he had nothing left to eat. So he did. So we've talked about Red Hours a bit, but I just want to show you a few uniforms here. So this one's Gary Waterfall, the highest ranking Red Hour ever. He retired last year. I took his family round. He didn't know they were here. He came in on a helicopter, took him to a secret meeting with British Aerospace, and when they get there, the Red Hours gave him a party. And they said, "Which plane do you want?" He went, "Red 9. And they took him, we had a full display, and then his family went out to meet him.
Oh, amazing.
And even though I'll tell you that story, the fact that the uniform is Gary Waterfall, that's just a coincidence. Right, okay. That story is amazing, but it's a coincidence. We've got his uniform. Kirsty Moore, the only Red Hours female pilot, and then we've had 2 female managers. They're the uniforms. So when you look around the museum bit, we have a World War I female women's uniform, World War II one down the bottom. Air cadets didn't have women, they had Venture Corps. They joined, then the Venture Corps finished, and in 1980 you could have women in the air cadets. We've got one of them. We've got a Red Hours pilot female uniform and a Red Hours manager female uniform, and the only one missing, 2 years ago we had a female station commander.
All right.
Now when she come down to say goodbye, and had a coffee with us down there.
You whip our clothes off.
Yeah, right. I didn't. You will be, already. Yeah. Oh no. But apparently it's just a basic uniform with the right badges on, so we could recreate it. But yeah, I was there on it. Oh no.
What's this?
Well, this guy. So there's a beads air in there. So when you put in a 6G turn, this inflates and keeps the air in your head and in your brain.
So it's the G suit.
Yeah, G suit. Yeah. So a winter uniform like today, they'll just be wearing the basic green uniform. When they become Red Arrows, they're allowed to wear this, but you still got the same G suit.
Perilous.
If the oxygen comes out your eyes, you pass out. So you need something to come in there. Yeah, that's Central Flying School. One more room. This is my favourite room. Yeah, gate guards, there it is. That's East Kirkby. That one. No, sorry, that's one. That one is Hendon. And then the other one is East Kirkby.
It's East Kirkby.
That's that went to East
That's
Kirkby.
right, they
That was
bought
a
it
gate
off.
guard here before.
Ah, right, okay. That's not just Jane then?
Yeah, that one is. Yeah, it's just James. Yeah, it was on the gate. So yeah, Cold War room. This is my favourite room. So if you think about the atomic bomb going off, and we had a big input into that, but after the war they sent our engineers and scientists back here, and we had to go solo. The Russians did the same, probably spying on us really for information. So all that mistrust between the two superpowers, that's the Cold War. So in 1948, the Americans sent a lot of aircraft over here, and Scampton was part of that. And we had the B-29 super fortresses here for a year. The official reason is because they were doing the Berlin airlift. And you can only get 2 of them in the hangar, which is pretty by 6 inches. It's pretty good for an American pilot.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we had the B-29s here. Then we had the Lincolns and Shackletons here. And then by 52, we had the Canberras. 4 squadrons, 10, 18, 21 and 28. They were here for 3 years, and the Vulcan's on its way. So they've got to extend the runway. So the runway at the time from World War II was 3 runways, and the biggest one was 6,000 feet. So you've got to put another 3,000 feet on it. To do that, because we're on a cliff, if you build the runway that way, it's going to fall off the cliff. If you go this way, you've got to smash through the A15. And the A15 is a Roman road. Roman roads are straight. It's called the Ermine. So now it isn't. If you look at the topography of Scampton, it's got a curve in it now. So there's the old A15. There's the curve. So we've changed the base. That's what we did. So we had the Vulcans here with nuclear bombs on. So if you think about the Vulcans, it was part of the V bombers. They were designed to fly at 50,000 feet with a nuclear bomb to Moscow. And the first aircraft to do that was a basic one, that's the Valiant. That did the job. However, the Victors and the Vulcans were on the way. It took longer, the better aircraft. So we had the Vulcans here. In 1960, Gary Powers got shot down. That shows the world that even though he was flying 13 miles in the air at 65,000 feet, a surface-to-air missile can shoot it down. So the days of the RAF flying a bomb to Moscow, they're numbered. So the RAF says, well, we'll fly at 300 feet, which is below radar. So that's what they did. But when you fly low, you've got more turbulence. That shakes the airframe, shortens the life of the airframe. So by 64, the Valiants are finishing because they're falling apart. And the Victors were going into tankers. So the Vulcan was the best aircraft for low-level flight because of the delta wing. It's longer, the delta wing, so the turbulence takes longer, and it's not so wide. And because it is a big wing, you've got 2 wing spars, so it makes it more stronger. So the Vulcan did the job really, late 60s. And we had 617 reformed in 68, then we had 27 Squadron, 83 Squadron, and in 1975 we had 35 Squadron. And then we also had the Hastings here, which supported them on various roles.
What was the Shackleton doing here?
I think it was just maintenance unit. It wasn't here, but I think it was just maintenance for a while. Right. It was there for a while. Yeah. The base itself, if you look at the map, so this is where all your Vulcans sit, and they rotated the 3 squadrons. We also had 230, by the way, as well. You had 4 Vulcans here with a nuclear bomb on, and obviously every now and then, quite regular actually, the sirens would go off, tannoys, and away you go, 4 minutes.
They're right at they're on the runway, almost.
Yeah, so your primary, well, we'd always do it in defence. Your primary attack on Russia would be from these aircraft. They'd be off in 4 minutes, and they could, and they did, because the Russians were watching us sometimes, and MI5 were watching them, watching us. So they used to take off, but when you get sort of like a sticky situation like the Cuban missile crisis, you need to expand on that. So they could ship all these Vulcans out to different airfields around the country. So we were in the trouble with Cuban missile crisis, was the most dangerous part of the 60s. We could get off altogether and do the job. That's what we'd do. 10 miles down the road at Binbrook, they had the Lightnings. They were doing the same. They would take off, and their job was to shoot down the Russians on the way here. 8 miles down the road, Hemswell, they had 4 Thor missiles. They're half American, but they took 15 minutes to get off. So they were a second reaction. And if the Lightnings didn't shoot the Russians down, at Dunholm Lodge, 3 miles away, you had Bloodhound missiles shoot them down. And even though those Thor missiles were at Hemswell, this was airhead for Scampton, and they brought the missiles here, and we took them down by road. And the spares could be taken to Foldenworth, 8 miles down the road, and kept there. And also that raised ridge over there is also a nuclear bomb storage area. That was all happening in the 60s all the time. And you've got to think, these guys have got from 4 minutes. They've got no warning. You're not going to ring your missus or your kids and say goodbye. Within minutes of lifting off, you're on the way to a one-way ticket to Russia, nothing to come back to. 7 missiles from Russia will finish the UK off. Lincoln primary target. They're on the way, avoiding mushroom clouds, and they're not going to speak to the missus' kids. They'll be dead within minutes. That's the situation in the 60s. And that's what the base was. The missile itself, the blue steel, which you've seen out there, the white one. If you think back to Hiroshima, the first atomic bomb, that was the equivalent of 15,000 tons of TNT, and a week later the dropped one on Nagasaki, which is 19,000 tons of TNT. One was uranium, one was plutonium, and you've got to compress them to smash the atom, which will smash other atoms, which creates a chain reaction, which creates heat and light. That's an atom bomb. We needed to do that ourselves. And Prime Minister Attlee decided that. 5 years later, we're dropping them in Australia on a Valiant. We've done the job. We're back on the big table, but we're not. The Americans have moved on to thermal nuclear devices, which are called hydrogen bombs. That's using an atomic bomb to smash another atomic bomb to create a bigger, 10 times more powerful bomb. So our first production hydrogen bomb, thermal nuclear device, blue steel, was 1.1 million tons of TNT. So your Hiroshima, YouTube, nice mushroom cloud thing, 15,000 tons, blue steel, 1.1 million. That's 1.1 megatons, and the Russians went up to 50, and we went up to 3.8, and I think America went up to 38 megatons. That's way, way too big. Don't need that.
It's going to ruin your day. I mean, even 1 megaton's going to ruin your day, isn't it?
Yeah, you made them sandwiches for nothing. So when you think that, so by 68, here they had a big party, Bomber Command finishes, Fighter Command finishes, we become Support Command, and so we went to the submarines. So I know there's 4 or 5 thermal nuclear submarines out there, play cat and mouse with China and Russia all the time, and we're pretty good at it. They can't find us. And then the Tridents, I'm sure, I can only roughly speak for it, but I'm sure there's about 8 warheads in a Trident, which will go to different cities. And altogether, there's probably 200 warheads over the 4. So it's about 16 Tridents. And that, my friends, is the end of the tour.
Colin, thank you so much.
Colin, that was brilliant. Amazing. Really, really enjoyed that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we're right at the end of the tour. This is the exit, but there's a one final room here. What can you tell us about this?
This is, as far as I know, probably the biggest private collection of Air Cadets memorabilia. It's quite interesting, and we still have Air Cadets here quite a lot of the weekends.
They have an Air Cadet base here?
Yes, yeah. So we've got an exhibition in there, and we've got all this kit in there, and it's worth looking at,
Okay.
And so can anyone visit Scampton?
Yes.
Because it's not a museum,
Yes.
it's an RAF base. So how
It's
can
RAF
people
base,
come
so
here?
you would have to email us. So because we're only here 2 or 3 hours a day, we've not got a manned phone.
Yeah.
There's no point in ringing. You email us, it goes straight through to somebody who controls that. Again, that's another volunteer who does it in his own time. He's got a full-time job.
Yeah.
So he has the job of getting back to people, and he's talking about 60 emails a day. Oh, wow. He works full-time.
So maybe
you might get an
we
email.
don't advertise it.
Yeah, so you might get an email off him at 12 o'clock on a Saturday night, because that's the effort he puts in.
Amazing. Well, you all do a sterling job.
Yeah,
Thank you so
and
much
just
for
keeping
having
some
us.
of this stuff alive is it's incredible.
Yeah.
Particularly, I mean, Jazz Vulcan, did you quite like that?
Love the Vulcan. Loved every picture in there is amazing. Lots of black and whites. The history is just oozing out of every wall of this place. I absolutely love it.
How can you get rid of this? There's so much
Such
there.
a significant
I
building.
just skimmed across it.
Yeah.
There's 104 years of history.
Because usually you do like a 2 or 3 hour guided
3
tour.
hours,
3
yeah.
hours,
It's a free tour.
Yeah.
Cup of tea at half time. Bit of a shop. You might get a red arrow flying up.
Yeah, it was
Come
an
and see
incredible
us.
day. And anything we can do to help protect this place when the Reds leave to go to Waddington, let us know. And, we'll chain ourselves to the...
to the rest.
Yeah.
I think once they find out we're behind keeping it here, it's safe, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
This is Top Landing Gear.